Medical information obtained from our website or the live show is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. If your pet has or you suspect they might have an illness or other medical condition, you should consult a healthcare provider. The opinions expressed on this radio program are not necessarily those of All Paws Pet Talk, this radio show, or their sponsors.
And now live in this studio, it's the All Paws Pet Talk call-in radio show with the valuable knowledge and expertise of our panel guests, ready to take your calls. Listen for the phone number so you may call in live. Take it away, panel.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Annie G. Pet Show. I am here with Brian Patrick Clark, the man with 3 first names. And, Brian, I bet you are glad you're not living in Connecticut now, aren't you?
I'm very glad, but I haven't lived in Connecticut in a long time, so I still have friends there, and my thoughts obviously have been with them, and actually have family there because Carrie, our older son's wife's parents, live right on the shore in Madison. Right on the shore. Okay, so let's just first say to all the people out there, we obviously feel your pain. Living in Florida, we go through hurricanes, but I said to someone, the nice thing for us is when we go outside in a hurricane, it's about 75, 80 degrees, not 40. No. Because I would not do well with that. And those images out of West Virginia with the blizzard that they've got. That's incredible. I guess good for the ski slopes. Let's look at the positive. Oh, okay, good. There we go. So one of the things we're going to look at, because ironically there can be an explosion after an event like this, is how all the various parasites take advantage. Why are you looking at me when you said that? Oh, yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah, suddenly you glanced over at me like the operative word, parasite. I just haven't seen you so long. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I get it. So we are actually very pleased to be talking with Dr. Elizabeth Hodgkins, and she is the Director of Vet Services from SIVA. And SIVA is a company that have a lot of various veterinary products. The one we're going to look at today is Vectra3D, which covers, Brian, what? You don't know, do you? It covers, you know what? Well, it covers the things that Vectra 1 and 2D didn't cover. There you go. No, it always came up with 3D. So let's, without more ado, go and say welcome to Dr. Elizabeth Hodgkins. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate that.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to be with you.
And, all right, let's just keep Brian interest peaked here. Why is it called Vectra3D?
This particular topical product is directed at, it is specifically for dogs, all right, so that's the D, and 3 designates that there are 3 different actives working together in this particular topical product to deliver, we think, the most comprehensive protection against ectoparasites that dogs in throughout the United States are exposed to, and most notably ticks. And you're so right about ticks being a problem, a disease-carrying, disease-causing problem around the entire calendar these days.
Right, because a lot of people think, oh, it's colder. Now, of course, our definition of cold, as I know that you are based in California, so you have the same definition of cold as we do. Anything below 70 is now freezing. And so our clients think they don't have to use it. But we notice that the worst months in the southeast Florida areas are November and March, and particularly November through December. So what are some of the causes that you may think that you weren't having a problem with ticks and now you suddenly are? What can be some of the reasons why that's happening?
Well, certainly we know that different species of ticks will get out and look for their hosts to get their blood meals at different times of the year. Ticks are really, really smart little critters, and they have evolved the capability to occupy an environment in a kind of a tag team fashion so that everybody gets their shot. Isn't that cool? Evolution is an interesting process. And so right now, we have the Lone Star tick, which does affect Florida by every estimation of the parasitologist. There's plenty of Lone Star ticks down in Florida, and they are out questing. Their larvae forms are questing right now in the southeast part of the United States. Other ticks are going a little bit dormant, not because of weather so much, but just because they're sharing the environment with other species. But there is really no month of the year anywhere in the United States anymore where we can say reliably you're not going to be exposing your dog to ticks if he or she is out running around in tall grass, in wooded areas, or brushy areas.
So now I know that people like to avoid using chemicals whenever they can, but, I mean, does the tick have any natural predators out there that's going to keep it down to a manageable level?
Or even unnatural ones, if it'll just take care of the things, right? Right.
Yeah. Well, certainly, ticks have some predators. You know, birds will eat ticks. Chickens like to eat ticks. They'll eat ticks that are in the barnyard, and that's sort of an observation that farmers have made for centuries, that birds will go after ticks as part of their menu, but certainly not enough. Ticks are incredibly prolific. One female tick can produce tens of thousands of eggs in her lifetime, and her lifetime may be anywhere from a few months to several years. So they've got us very much outnumbered. There is no way that we can, without enhanced technologies, which do include safe, I'll use the term chemicals because you did, Annie, but unfortunately the word chemicals does have a bad connotation in society today, but the reality is the bugs and the diseases they can transmit are way, way, way more dangerous for all of us, you, me, and our pets, than are the chemicals that the EPA allows us to use to try to fight them back.
And my understanding is one of the diseases that is a zoonotic disease, in other words, that's something that people can catch from animals as well, is Lyme's disease, is actually becoming more prevalent, not less.
Well, yeah, and Lyme isn't a zoonotic in the traditional sense. You know, probably the best example of a zoonotic disease would be something like rabies, because that is, you know, transmitted directly from an animal to a human being, and then the human being, of course, has a life-threatening potential for disease. With Lyme disease, the reservoirs in the wild definitely maintain the infection, but typically your dog, if your dog becomes infected with Lyme disease or has a tick that is transmitting Lyme to the dog is not then going to turn around and infect the human. So it's a little bit different kind of peril for human beings, and dogs have been considered for decades now, since we've known about Lyme disease. They're a sentinel, if you will, a sort of a mine canary in various areas of the country for whether there is Lyme disease that can affect humans. Where we see dogs being more and more affected, we know that there are more and more ticks that can infect people.
So sentinel, you mean that they're a warning, watch system,
yes,
effectively, because it will reveal itself first in the canine population.
Correct. Generally, we start seeing dogs be infected with a particular disease like Lyme, and then we know that the ticks carrying it are out there and they can bite people.
Do you know, I think that's the most sensible question I've heard Brian ask ever. So
I love the repartee between you two. It's great.
Well, thank you, Doc. I'm pouting. I'm pouting now.
Listen, Dr. Hodgkins, we do thank you. I want to point out again, you are the Director of Veterinary Services for SIVA, and the product Vectra3D, which is available through veterinarians only, and there is a reason for that, folks. We actually took part in the trials when it first came out, so I will definitely stand behind its efficacy. 100%. So I should point out, not only does it affect ticks or kills ticks, but also fleas and repels things like sandflies and mosquitoes.
And on that note, I'd like to say, I'll stand by you.
There we go. See, it's time for a break because I need to beat him up again. Dr. Hodgkins, have a wonderful day out there in California, and thank you so much. I know that we'll be speaking to you on some of the other products that you actually have.
Thank you, Doc.
Nice talking with you, Brian, too. Bye-bye.
And that's about the first time anybody's been pleased to talk to you, Brian.
She had her fingers crossed when she said it.
Well, I wonder what you were going to say then. So, listen, we're going to go to a break right now. But do not go away, because when we come back, we've got some top tips on training, and that was very hard to say. We'll see you in a minute. Hello, welcome back. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I wanted to say, and I'm going to try and say it again, but you put a thought in my head, and it's going to come out wrong. Top tips on training.
You've got to stop saying
Right,
that on
because
air, Annie.
that's not what you said during the break. So we are thrilled, are we not?
Oh, I am.
To be speaking with Martin Deely. We sound like we're being sarcastic, but we don't.
No, we're not. No, in that regard, we are thrilled. But I'm also thrilled about those top tips.
Okay, good.
Tips.
As you know, Martin is a very, very world-renowned dog trainer.
And he's also a very engaging personality,
He
which is an unusual combination.
And for me, he is from England.
Give up, you two. Good grief.
How big is that head now, Martin? Will you fit through the door when next you visit?
So, listen,
right.
Martin, listen, you two just shut up. It's my show, all right? It's the Annie G Pet Show. That means I'm running it, okay?
We
Now,
rule the world.
let's get serious because I know that a lot of people have problems training their dogs. Now, what I'm about to say, I said on my very first TV show, and it was live, and it was one of the worst things I should have ever said because as it came out of my mouth, I thought, oh, no, I should never have said that.
Right.
And what I actually said was, you need to find out what turns your dog on. I will not say that this time to Martin.
Well, some of us already know what turns our dogs on, so we don't need to find out. It makes it so much easier.
I know that Martin's going to get me out of a hole on that one. What exactly did I mean with that statement, Martin? And this is rated, family listening.
I think it's like it is with people, though, to some extent. There are certain things that we enjoy doing. And there's no doubt about it that, I used to have a little terrier when I first started with dogs. I was 11 years old, and he used to love to actually play kill, if you like, if it was a ragger or something like that, or in those days we didn't have all the posh toys that we have today. But he loved to shake things and really kill it, And then you get others like, I'm in with retrievers, and people say, oh, he's always picking something up. Well, that's what retrievers do, And they like to carry things. And I've got a little dog right next to me here, and she's just got a big fluffy toy in her mouth, and she's asleep. They like to do certain things. So when you're working with a dog and when you want to create a relationship with a dog, it's rather nice to find out what turns that dog on, as you say. And I've got a dog in for training at the moment, and I'm not quite sure what he is, but the way he walks and the way he looks, it looks like a greyhound. And so, to be honest, I've got him chasing things. He doesn't want to pick them up, but he loves to chase. So
they like chasing cats.
Or I put him into a down and throw something, off he goes. He loves it.
Maybe your neighbor can give you a cat or two, because I know they like to do that.
No, I got to tell you, I'm just thrilled that Martin gave us the answer he did, because I had this dread fear of hearing about dogs' erogenous zones or something.
No. You can sit over there and think about that all you want, but it's not happening. So, Martin, let's look at
the other program we run.
Yeah, that's the other show. That's the After Midnight show. Martin, let's look at a couple of scenarios. The first being someone has a small, fluffy puppy, a Maltese, a Shih Tzu, and they want to find out, well, what is it that actually turns this dog on? So how do you find out? What do you do?
I spend time with them. When I've got a little puppy, one of the things that they will always like to do is to carry something of yours, or they're interested by something of yours. Usually it's something that's distasteful, like good old worn socks, or even worse. But many times when I've got puppies of that nature, I'll roll up an old sock that I've got, one that I've worn the day before, and I'll knot it up, and I'll see whether they're interested in it. You put things in. If you think about it, though, if you put too many toys in there, they're not really interested to see it all the time. But if you've got something which really they enjoy smelling, or they enjoy tasting, or they enjoy putting in their mouth, or they enjoy chasing in some way, and then take it away, and that becomes, if you like, the highlight. It becomes a relationship-building thing with you, because you're actually doing something with them. You're getting them to work. So when you've got these little dogs, like when I get a puppy, or even if I breed some litter of puppies myself, when they're very, very young, I'm just sitting on the floor with them, I'm watching them, and I'm playing with them, and I'm doing things with them with different kinds of toys and items, if you like to think about it that way.
Now, do you believe in using treats for training motivation?
It does help, but what you've got to do is to phase it out. I have no problem at all with using a little treats. You've got to be careful you don't overfeed them and give them diarrhea or something like that. But there's nothing wrong with using, and I mean very small treats. Some of the treats you buy from the shops are huge for puppies. And then owners are saying, he doesn't eat his dinner. And I say, do you give him any treats? And they say, yes, I give him only about 3 or 4, though. And I say, show me. And they bring out these kind of bony things, which are about twice the size of the dog, you know. So really what I'm saying with treats is make them small, and to get them to sit or to come up to you and things like that is nice, but you've got to be in charge. You've got to be actually showing the little dog nicely what to do. And even when you're using food, you've got to know exactly how to give them the food and how to allow them to take it from you. So
now,
I don't mind
what about the
treats
scenario?
at all, but I phase them out, you know. I phase them out, and I find myself, when I get dogs here in training, if I can get them to retrieve and to enjoy a tennis ball or something of that nature, they're not bothered about the food. They want to actually work. They love the work.
Right, same with mine. So now what if you've adopted an older dog, you know, maybe as much as 8 years old, that doesn't look like it's done much? How are you going to go about that particular scenario? I was thinking of Brian. I'm wondering whether Brian is too late to train now or not.
Yeah, way too late, and I don't look like I've done much, I have to agree.
Yeah, well, Brian's definitely past it.
Slowing down,
but you know, it's quite interesting. You always start with just the little moves towards what you want. Sometimes I've got dogs, and I'll tease them with something. It might be a soft toy, it might be rolled-up socks, it might be something like that. And I'll throw it, and often they'll want to go and kind of run out to it and see what it's about, but they might not pick it up. But the moment they run out to it and they touch it with their nose, if you say, good, and then they come back to you and play them, and very quickly you tend to find that those little things build up until all of a sudden you've got a dog that's not just running out, but actually, you know, we get very upset because they pick it up, they come back halfway, and they drop it. Well, as far as I'm concerned, they've picked it up, and they've succeeded in bringing it back halfway, not failed in not bringing it back the other halfway. So I say, good to that. I call them up to me. The important thing is to come back to me, and then we'll play again. And I stop before they get bored. With some dogs, it might be 2 or 3 little games. With some, it might be only 1 before they kind of get bored with it. But you build it up, and it becomes, if you like, the highlight. And there's a lot of little things that you can do. There's so many toys out there nowadays with raggers and tuggers and squeakies, and I'm not a big squeaky lover, but sometimes squeakies will get them going because they like the idea of the noise, you know.
Right, and you know, I wanted to tell you something, Martin, because I've been emailing to you about another project that I hope we can work on. And this was fascinating to me because we had a family of foxes that built a den on our property, had 5 kits, I believe that's correct terminology for fox cubs, and raised them. And I went down to the den and I found tennis balls, the dog's soft toys, and those foxes, the adult foxes, had come up to the house, gone in the garage, stolen the dog's toys, and taken them down to the den. So there is that spirit of play even in a wild animal. There's no other purpose for them taking them down there.
Well,
at all.
First of all, it smells of you or smells of something which is interesting. But if you think about it with every dog, if we're going to get feeding them this nice kibble or raw food or anything like that, what a dog has to do, he has to find game. He has to actually put that game out where he can catch it. He has to chase it. He has to catch it. He has to kill it. When he kills it, he might eat a little bit of it, but many times it's to take it back to the family. What's this fox doing with a tennis ball? Similar kind of thing. But I'm doing the things with the Labradors or with the Retrievers or with the Terriers or with any dog that comes in. I've got a great little dog. I am the foggiest idea of what he is. And he just loves retrieving. He enjoys every bit of it. But you're putting their natural instincts together into the form of a game and then controlling it.
And Annie forgot to tell you that she now has a family of foxes living there, growing fur that is not dissimilar in tone to neon yellow felt.
No, not at all. Listen, Martin, as always, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. I do hope we can do a segment very regularly, because I think we're on the same page on training issues. And I know you're the best.
We always were, darling.
Best. So, listen, thank you, and have a great rest of the week. And we'll look forward to maybe speaking to you next week, all right?
I look forward to it. I look forward to
it.
It.
Thanks, love.
Next week I'm running a workshop, so make it the week after.
All right, week after. All right, thanks, love.
I've got trainers coming here to train with me and learn some gems.
There you go. See, he's a busy man. All right, Martin, we'll speak to you then.
Be well, Martin.
You have been listening.
And you, Brian. Thank you so much. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. You are listening to the Annie G Pet Show. Not that you have been. Well, you have been and you're going to.
And you're
so
going to.
Do not go away.
No.
Because we've got an update on a very special dog that we featured a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to tell you all about what happened to that dog, Trip. We'll speak to you soon.
It's great if my dog wants to sleep on the bed with me all night.
What is this show? This show is a compilation of a bunch of idiot stuff that Brian and I come up with, and then a lot of good guests.
A compendium.
Compendium,
Not
okay.
to be confused with compost.
Education with an entertaining flair.
Yes.
So, do you
Like that flair.
remember, Brian,
Like
we spoke to a wonderful young gentleman by the name of Jorge Alvarez.
I do.
And he had adopted a young dog, 1-year-old dog called Trip.
Right.
And found out subsequently that Trip needed a major orthopedic surgery.
Yes.
Which we could not help him with down here.
Right.
And in fact, he was going to go to the university or a specialist, and that was going to cost mucho buckos.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
And so George had heard about this wonderful program and where you basically put out the dog story on YouTube and
Right.
Facebook and all the social media things, and you set up a chip-in account, so chip in for Trip.
Chip for Trip, right.
And he needed to raise, I think, around $1,700.
Yeah.
And I thought we would do a follow-up and see what happened on that, because I want anybody out there, like we've just had a client being told they need to go for a specialist surgery that, unfortunately, again, it's one of the few we can't do, and it's going to set them back $7,000. And this is an older couple
Oh, my God.
who I know are going to struggle. I want to know how successful is this program
Yeah.
so that we can at least give that information to people
Right. Point out
so
the
that
story.
they may not be faced with the horrible dilemma, do I put the dog to sleep or do I try and raise some money?
Right.
So, Jorge, good morning. Welcome back to the show, or good afternoon if you're listening in one of those places. Can you tell
thank
us, thank you for coming, what happened with Trip and how did the fundraising go?
Well, Annie, I'm happy to say that the fundraising was a huge success. And in just a matter of 2 to 2.5 weeks, we were able to raise roughly $1,400 for his procedure. And about a week and a half ago, he had the procedure at University of Florida, and everything went excellently. He's recovering very well. And really, really appreciate it to everybody who chipped in. I couldn't really have asked for more.
So now, how fast did this start working? I mean, you posted, I know you did a video, I saw that, you posted that on the appropriate places, which luckily for you, you're good at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But how long before you first saw money?
I saw money within the first few hours. Within 4 hours, there was already $100 in the account, and within a day or two, we were already at $200, $300 in. And of course, it's very exponential. At the beginning, it grows very fast, and then it tapers off. But the big thing is to keep, putting updates on Facebook, let people know how he's doing, keep people in the loop. So they always have him on their mind and they want to share the story with other people. So definitely I saw a very, very fast response, and it was really overwhelming. And, of course, I had to thank everybody individually. And I was really overwhelmed at the beginning, but I got the hang of it later. So
on average, what is the donation that people give?
I would say the average donation, even though I asked for $1 donations, the average was about $20. And I even got, donations from someone donated from Israel. They donated $3. And the biggest donation was about $150. So the range was between $1 and $150, with the average being $20. So big range there.
And was this people you generally knew, or, I mean, was it a lot of them? Obviously, I'm assuming the one in Israel you didn't know, but were you surprised that there was some people you just never even heard of?
Yeah, completely surprised. I would say about 80 to 90% of the donors were people I had not seen, met, or heard of before. They just heard his story through online media and word of mouth. So it's like very, very few people were were ones that I knew personally or had even heard of. So,
and I just have to say that what I find so extraordinarily impressive is that the vast preponderance of people are still struggling or very uncertain about their own financial future. I find it extraordinary that you got that kind of a response, much less one so swift. I'm delighted you did, obviously.
Yeah, and people understand, everybody in this day and age is needing in some way or another, some people financially, and, those people who gave $1 were extraordinary because, the fact that they logged on and took the time to read a story and gave $1 and probably spread the word to other people was just, more than I could have ever asked for. Any little bit was extremely helpful.
So one more time, George, before we go, and I know I've really interrupted George at a bad time, Brian, because he's studying for his finals of veterinary medicine examination.
Rock and roll,
so,
George. Very
tense week for him. But just one more time, for people listening out there, if there's anybody who is facing what might be an extraordinary medical bill coming up for their pet, or indeed, if you want to chip in for my Christmas party, there's always that option.
I'm giving my buck.
No, yeah, that's all you're going to give too, right?
I'll give you two.
A buck towards the Christmas party.
Okay.
Can you just explain how you go about doing this?
Yeah, so I don't want to promote any one particular company or trademark out there, but just from my experience, I had success using YouTube to spread the video, Facebook to update people on his story and post pictures, chip in, and PayPal to receive the donations. And those were pretty much the biggest ones that helped. And, of course, word of mouth, but online forums, those were the 4 websites that really, really made this possible.
Awesome. Listen, George, I will let you get back to your studying, which I know you're very good at doing. And I just wanted to say thank you. We're thrilled that Trip managed to get his chips and have that surgery done. And we wish you and Trip all the very best. And I'm sure we'll be calling you for other reasons in the near future, okay?
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
That's great.
But that's not a bad idea for the Christmas party, is it?
No, it's not a bad idea. It's a great idea.
No, there are going to be some people out there that actually believe me. Okay.
I'm going to start soliciting $1 donations for your Christmas party.
Listen, the amount of people you have,
I was going to say, you'll probably have $5 within about 5 months.
There you go. Listen, before we go, I wanted to, we're kind of talking about getting things on YouTube and pictures of this, that, and the other. I can't stress how important it is, Brian, that you take a picture of yourself and your pets. Not Kathy, that's your wife. All right,
I'm so glad you said that. I'm thinking, is there any particular place in which I'm supposed to take a photo of myself
because,
and post it online?
In cases like hurricanes, like Sandy, these animals are getting separated, and if they're not microchipped, that will be your biggest form of identification. When someone says, no, that's my dog, you'll be saying, no, here is my dog. This is the picture, and I can't tell you how many...
you how right you are. I had Kathy microchipped early on in our relationship.
Yes, there you go. That was just in case she wanted away from you, right?
Yes.
So remember that. I know you may not think you're going to have a natural disaster coming your way, but time has proven that that's not always the case. So take a picture of yourself with the pet. That has actually been a good point of evidence in court cases over ownership of pets.
Except if you have to go against the dream team, because they'll insist that pet that happens to look exactly like that pet that you had isn't really that same pet.
Right, that's true.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
But it is a good thing. The other good thing that came out of Sandy, by the way, was all the dead rats.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, those flooded through, which, of course, people are going to be horrified to know that those were actually there in the first place. But I don't know if you recall, not that you were there at the time, and neither was myself, but during the Great Fire of London...
Are we going back to Hamlin?
We are. We're going back to 1666. And the Great Fire of London, that is what broke the plague cycle, because the rats were killed that had the fleas. So it'll be a good thing. But have you seen the pictures of how many rats are coming up? It is...
No, I haven't.
Not pleasant.
I'm glad to know that there was some quote-unquote good news in this horror, because the pictures of devastation are just unbelievable.
They are. I think everybody didn't believe it was going to be as bad as it is. But the good news is a lot more shelters now will also take pets in, whereas back when we had the 3 hurricanes, do you remember Charlie and Jean and something else?
2004, we had just moved here 3 weeks before.
Right, they actually wouldn't
began on Friday the 13th of August, you'll recall. That was the first.
I actually went out to buy beer. just before it hit the house.
English people always buy beer. Every occasion. Celebrating, mourning, preparing.
Well,
got to get that brew.
The power went out.
Yeah, I'm Irish. I understand.
It went out for a week. You know, I mean...
You've got to have your brew.
That's right.
And with an English background, it doesn't even need to be cold.
But, that was quite a traumatic time. Anyway, you are listening to the Annie G. Pet Show. I'm trying to settle down here because we're actually going to be looking at some really wonderful stories. We've talked about dogs being rescued by Sandy, in Sandy's aftermath, I should say. We're going to be talking to Karen about dogs that have rescued other people. See, we're going to end on a good, positive note. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
If my dog wants to sleep on the bed with me all night.